remind the board and the community, we've talked about this probably 2 or 3 times now. This is the culminating report of Mr. DeVoe and Ms. Krumrich as it relates to our restructuring efforts at the middle and the high school, and the significant advancements and if you will, enhancements of the curriculum and the class offerings and some of the things that we had talked about for the last 2 or 3 years. It's now finally coming to fruition, and I wanted to obviously thank these 2 individuals for putting together a very good plan. And as they go through this process, if you can, there's a project and a whole document that you're going to get tonight. If you can hold your comments as much as you can to get through this, and then do the Q&A, write it down on your paper, then that way you can get through the process, and then you guys can ask all the questions. You're going to have 2 documents, the presentation and the actual plan with a dollar value allocated. What I want you to do is save this for our budget study sessions as we come, and this will be for 14-15 obviously. So this is in preparation for our budget study sessions and your consideration to infuse it into our budget for the upcoming 14-15 school year.
So okay. Without questions to be?
If you can, again, if you just...
No headline?
Well, you can do that if you like. It's up to you. So with that, Ms. Krumrich and Mr. DeVoe.
Yeah, thank you.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
So in December, you were kind enough to listen to, as a part of a very long presentation, Mary and I's portion of what our long-term plans were for the secondary schools. And the directive right after that was, what can you do next year? And so we've been working since then and trying to come up with what were the best and most realistic implementation aspects that we could put in place for 14-15. So what you have in front of you, the board actually has 2 documents. You have a copy of the PowerPoint that we're going to go through quickly. You also have a very much more detailed document with price breakdowns and other aspects that you can look at your leisure. Our plan tonight is just to kind of give you an exposure of some of the highlights of what we're looking at for secondary schools for next year. The intention is at a near board meeting in the future, it'll be the 27th or the March meeting, we'll talk a little bit further and you'll be able to ask questions and we'll continue. The ultimate goal is to agree together these are the right directions, that you support us, and we can begin working on allocating resources toward that end. So, the hallmark of what we're doing is really with an online program. There's 2 facets to it. One is the Aventa program that replaces our current program, Apex. Right now, we're spending money for an Apex program that only services students 9 through 12. We've run into more than a few situations in which middle school students need remediation. Outside the school, we don't have that. We have to do independent study. And we have no enrichment for any of the students K through 8. One of the reasons we like Aventa, having looked at many different providers, is they have a full K-12 program. And that's not just for electives and core subjects, it's also for languages. I'll get to that in just a moment. In addition, compared to what we have now for Apex, we gained 10 additional AP courses. And the AP courses and all the languages are UC approved. They're all UC approved. The electives right now are not UC approved. I'll get into that at another meeting. The hallmark piece is at the very bottom of the slide, that's the world languages. Right now we offer 1 language, and that's Spanish. We've been trying for a couple of years at the middle school to get Spanish started with varying degrees of success, and we've only been able to offer Spanish because of our limited enrollment at the high school. What Aventa gives us through an association with Middlebury College is 6 languages. And that's Spanish, French, German, Japanese, Mandarin, Chinese, and Latin. Every one of those courses is UC approved. In addition to having 1, they actually have 2 different versions. They have competency and fluency. Fluency is considered to be sort of an honors course. We're looking at trying to put that in place through language labs, staffed by a credentialed teacher at the high school, and an equivalent piece at the middle school. And we also have woven into the plan aspects where middle school students and elementary school students can actually get language work as well. I talked to some of the chief learning officer who is back in Vermont from Middlebury about the realism of elementary school students taking languages. And she said that although they offer it for K, really starting about 3rd grade, it's very realistic. So the point being that we can have languages, Spanish, French, and I believe German is what they do for K through 5. They can take Spanish 1, Spanish 2, French 1, French 2 as early as elementary school. The point is we're working on trying to get languages starting much earlier when they really should be. All the brain research indicates that language should happen before puberty, and we do it after. And we're trying to weave that into the program. Along with this comes some technology. There's a varying amount of technology that we need that we've listed for you. One of these would be a language lab. We need a dedicated language lab at the high school that's basically 36 computers with headphones and a microphone for every student. I've talked to 3 different principals in Utah, San Diego, and in Texas that have implemented this for a series of years, and they've validated this program as something that works, where the students learn enough to continue to the next level, and again, they're UC approved. So it's a workable program, especially with a credentialed teacher in the room. It's something we think we can make work. The technology is a critical piece, though. Some of our existing technology we can use. For example, we can use a mobile laptop card at High Desert. Instead of spending $20,000 to $24,000 on an entirely new lab, we can use those computers and drop it down to $8,000. Again, those details are in the second document that you have in front of you for the board. So we want to work this in. I've talked to Kim Tredick. We've talked about what Meadowlark needs. That's woven into the proposal. Mary and I have worked together closely on what the middle school needs, and of course the high school is all built in there too. This is something we believe we can do, and we hope we have the board support on. All right, in addition, we're working on placement. One of the things that we've done this year very successfully is math placement. I'm sure you remember that the superintendent declared this a math priority year. One of the things we've done is added math intervention after school, been highly successful at the high school, every Monday through Thursday for an hour. It's been very well. We serviced a lot of students and seen an improvement in math scores and a reduction in DNFs in math in our first semester in those courses. We want to expand that down to the middle school, continue that program. We want to expand our catch-up math subscription, which we pay $900 a year now for, to $1,500 a year and include the middle school. Catch-up math is an online remediation program for kids that are struggling, so they can help them out. One of the successful implementations we've had so far is by having kids complete catch-up math units, specifically with where they were weak on exams, and then use that remediation as a means of taking a makeup test. So that's been very successful. The weakness so far is that we don't have ELA. We don't have an ELA program. Students that are struggling in English, we don't have any formal system in place to help them out. We'd like to have that. We don't know what the cost is yet. I've done some preliminary research, and the cost of popular programs is kind of exorbitant. It's really designed for large districts. So we're continuing to look at something better, something that will work for our district and that's within our price range and is effective. And we'll be presenting that to you at a later date. But we want to investigate adding ELA intervention and acceleration as well. One more there, there you go. So,
We're too fast.
One more.
there you go.
There you go.
Okay. So right now, the student-computer ratio at VHS is 1 computer for every 25 students. And that's far from what it should be. You may have heard that recently we were able, through volunteer funding from PTSO and from some of the fundraising we've done on campus, we've actually, we're about a week away from opening a computer lab with 30 stations. And we spent no district funds on that. It was all done through volunteers. That's going to bring it from 1 to 25 to 1 to 9. What we'd like to do is make it 1 to 4. That's what we want it to be, and that's our goal. And in our plan, we've woven that in, what it would cost to make it 1 to 4, and we're hoping that will work instead of...
And eventually, let me go further and say 1 to 1. Eventually, it should be 1 to 1. At all schools.
The reason we accelerated this is for a couple of reasons, just so you know why we pressed and spent money, volunteer money, and worked hard and lobbied to get this lab open now is for a couple of reasons. One is the catch-up math subscription we're using is great, but we didn't have a place on campus during the day for students to do the work. So imagine being a math teacher and you're in a class and you just finish an exam and you grade the exam and you realize that 70% of your students have bombed a particular concept, quadratic formula or whatever it might be. What a perfect opportunity if you could say, okay, tomorrow we're going to go to the lab and 70% of you are going to work on the quadratic formula and I'm going to help you with catch-up math. And the other 30% that did well, we're going to do some enrichment and I'm going to get you ahead on some other things. And now you have a lab where a teacher can do in the middle of the day a differentiated instruction, helping kids that need help and giving kids that are doing well some advanced work or some ability to get ahead. That's something that we can do now beginning next week when this lab opens. So that was one of the main reasons. The other thing is research too. As a former English teacher, we do research papers all the time. And it was a standard practice for us at the beginning when it was time to do research to schedule a lab day. And during those periods, we go into the lab, the kids do the research, you teach them MLA format right there, all of them got their own computer. And they do the research and download and print it, and then they're off on their own after that. We don't have that ability until this lab opens next week. So that we want to hold on to that lab and still have the event lab and then have a new one for the language lab. So we want to have 3 labs, and that'll put us at 1 to 4, and as Dr. Woodard said, hopefully we can go even further in future years. Okay. We've done, that's the wrong direction. All right, just a couple more. We're looking for some period release time for instructional rounds throughout secondary. We really want to help teachers see other teachers. It's something we're looking to do to improve best practices. We're also looking to improve not just the student access to computers, but some of the teacher computers. That's something that we really need to look at. So that's built into the budget as well. And as you already know, the Common Core Standards Alignment release dates have already been happening. I think Metal Art's finished. Those teachers have had 3 days. Agua Dulce is beginning, and the secondary schools are doing them all through March together by subject area aligned. So by the end of March, all of the teachers in our district will have had 3 days to work together on subject-specific planning for Common Core. We have 2 more planned for the fall to help them implement Common Core lessons, design new curricular maps, and share best practices. So that's something that's built in as well. Okay, so marketing is probably the last piece. We've got the web store, VHS web store, that expands from the website, and we have the HD website that we want to get online. We want to improve our outreach to parents and to the community. Remind 101 is something that's a piece of technology that has been used on a volunteer basis at the high school and at the middle school. It's very, very useful. Parents can subscribe and get automatic notifications from teachers about homework or tests or exams. We want to expand that use of that and actually have a live feed on the websites, and that's something they can do. I've spoken to Remind 101, there's not even a charge for it. So we want to weave that in so that there's live feeds that parents can subscribe to, and going to the website you can actually see all the teachers' homework and everything that's due in the near future, and it's constantly updates with live feeds. That's something we can do. We also want to explore the idea of having a public relations position to manage press, web, and marketing. The updates to the website are a little bit infrequent, and as we roll more websites online, which is the district plan, we're going to need some help with that. So it's just something to consider. All right, in summary, we're looking at a total project value of around $400K. We have some potential offsets we've already identified that add up to $122K, including ROP. We can use the regional occupational program to pay for one of our labs, and that's about $25,000. So we believe we can do the majority of the language lab at Vasquez through the regional occupational program. We also have economic impact aid rollover, which is a federal program that rolls over into next year, and we've identified about $30K we could use from that, as well as Title I and Title II funding is another $30K. These are categorical funds that are very limited in their use, but applied to aspects of this plan. You can't use them for personnel, but you can use them for things like technology and direct student impact. Also, the event to contract that we're negotiating, we've already negotiated a savings of about $37K off of their normal prices. That's continuing. I believe we can negotiate even further with them, and that's happening even now. Total general fund expenditures are $278K is what we're looking at. We believe strongly that we can reduce that even further with staffing efficiencies and looking at staffing. So this is the general plan and where we'd like to go, and we hope we have the board's approval in pursuing this.
Okay, so the last piece you're going to have is that document that kind of outlines and chronicles the details in this piece here. And so you're going to, obviously, what we had talked about previously is I'd like you to keep that in mind as we begin to build the budget for next year. This is something I'd like you to seriously consider. You can see the significant improvement in terms of course selection, just in and of that. And as we decline, we actually are not going to see any degradation in our curriculum and our program as it relates relates to high school offerings. And I think you can see it actually improves it dramatically. We also, this gives us the opportunity to attract and retain any of our homeschool kids, then try to get those kids back. We'll have a huge marketing plan. You see one of those pieces had to do with a marketing piece to try to attract those folks back to our district and obviously increase enrollment. So there's many facets to this. It doesn't just serve that, but this is something that is going to be critical moving forward to make sure that we have these opportunities. So do you have anything else for the board?
No.
Do you have any questions of either principal?
Quick general
Yes.
question. I think it's wonderful if we can expand the offerings as shown. It's not, is it envisioned that, for example, the additional AP courses that are taught online would in any way be in lieu of teacher-taught courses that we have already?
Well, we've talked about that. We want to make sure that we're not eviscerating existing brick and mortar classes for online classes. At the present plan on the rollout is to offer it for enrichment only, so it wouldn't be in place of. It would be in addition to. That's why I mentioned, for example, in that slide 10, additional AP courses, not as a replacement for existing ones. You're welcome.
I just had a quick question. I wasn't aware of this. Currently at the high school level and middle school, we don't have ELA.
Of course, we have ELA, and we have RSP, for example, in special education. We have some aspects, and we do have Anna Herrera, who's actually here tonight, who services our EL students. We have 17 EL students that haven't been redesignated. She services them on a weekly basis. So, but in terms of program, like regular students in English who have low grades, and we have an SST, we don't have additional pieces. Like Read 180 is an example that I gave you. The Question the Author is another one. But both those programs are. Read 180 in particular is really expensive and designed for large districts. And on top of that, you need to change a lot. You go to 90-minute schedule. They have a lot of requirements.
Mr. Porter, is the fact is that we don't have an intervention, if you will. And the model is not in any way it's going to be remediation, it's acceleration. So for kids that fall behind in ELA or math, that's what one of the slides he was talking about, we're going to accelerate their progress through the use of some of these programs that we're talking about. Catch them up quickly identify them, and then catch them up with this system. So that obviously they don't fall behind 2 and 3 grade levels. So that's what that means is, yes, we have ELA, but we're trying to enhance it as well.
I just misunderstood. So if a non-English speaking student enrolls, initially they go into our regular program.
Oh yeah,
All of them do.
Yeah.
So then these are the things that you guys want to enhance.
Yes.
Their experience in case they're falling behind or in case the regular program is not working.
Or say for example, unfortunately, we don't have a continuation school. Some kids fail classes, and in order to graduate, they have to have English 9, English 10, right? So we want to accelerate them, give them an opportunity to catch up quickly, because a lot of subjects build upon the previous year's curriculum. And especially with Common Core, it's going to be critical that these kids have the opportunity to accelerate the pace too, so that if kids want to graduate in 3 years, they'll have that opportunity to do so. But obviously, they're going to have to work their tail off in order to get there.
And thank you. And as far as the catch-up math goes, so the biggest obstacle right now is basically the facilities. I mean, is that going to be an easy fix, or is that something?
Yeah, we're going to fix it in a week.
So it's just basically finding a place. And you need
We've taken a room that we had on campus that was empty. We've wired it. Caesar's already wired it. We ordered the computers and all the components already with the funds that we raised. Caesar spent Tuesday and Wednesday doing complete wiring. All we're missing are a few pieces of furniture and kind of cleaning it up. We'll do that early next week, and it'll open next week.
And keep in mind, as we get down that road, we do have obviously a new school. We have some FF&E that's been allocated for that. So you can see the opportunities. We really want to make sure that we have a plan. We just don't buy technology to buy technology. There's a specific plan that's associated with it, if you will, a master plan. And as we get down that road, then that gives him direction to really kind of detail how and what we buy. Absolutely.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
I have just one simple program, the Remind 101. I love this thing. My phone goes off when I hold it up, and my kids know I know that they're supposed to be doing something. So if you're a parent, you can use it as simple as that. Are you finding good results from it?
Yes, for the teachers that use it, The issue right now is it's very selective. I have about a third of my teachers using it. I want that to be well over half next year.
Well, at some point, I think our goal is 100%. I
Yeah.
mean, it's going to be just standard expectation that all teachers use that. Correct? Thank you.
Thank you.
Any comments, Mr. Lane?
Thanks, guys, I appreciate it.
I've
There's a couple things that we've been talking about recently. Number one is that we put the project at Vasquez High School out on the street and open it up for bids. All of those bids have come in, and without getting into details, they are favorable, meaning that we've done a ton of value engineering, and we believe that we're going to be able to come within budget. At our next board meeting, we will be presenting the comprehensive project, the budget value, a guaranteed maximum price for JTS, which is, for me, is monumental in that we believe we're at the budget value that we can afford. So we'll talk about the project scope, the sequence, when the shovel in the ground happens, and how we're going to get there, and what needs to happen between then and now. The contract will be on the next agenda. I'll give you, we're working on it concurrently. I'll be working on it days and nights to get that thing done. The sooner rather than later. I did actually request from Mark if in fact I can get it done sooner. I may even request a special meeting if that would be to your liking. I can't promise I'll get it done sooner, but if I do, I'll let you know, and then we can go from there.
As for me, it would be very much to my liking.
I bet.
So our tax money that we're paying will be paying for the high school.
Yes. Well, I think, you know, it's one of the things I wanted to talk about was that, and just let everyone know, you know, I'm very, very happy and proud of the team that what we put together. I think you guys will be as well. We'll present the entire project to you. It's in essence option E with, to be honest with you, some enhancements over option E. We'll chronicle what those are.
Can
We'll
you
talk
remind me about option E again?
Option E is basically the classrooms, excluding the SPR.
Oh, right.
Okay. And we'll talk about that a little bit. But in addition to that, I wanted to talk to you a little bit. You know, things are, in many respects, moving forward. Recently, on the, it would be, I can't remember, January 22nd, board meeting of the State Allocation Board, they basically put together a list which is reauthorization, if you will. There's, and I counted quickly, I see there's 12 different school districts that are up for new construction grants. And so we were reapproved, and Acton, Agua, Dulce was approved. I got confirmation that our project was approved for the same amount, which was, again, 14 plus or minus $1 million, is 14 plus. And so the intention is, and the signal is, as I call DSA, which honestly doesn't exist anymore. What I understand is happening is they are taking many of the projects that, say, for example, where a school district in California had a project that was funded, they received the money, but yet, for whatever reason, we're not the only school district that is losing enrollment. Other districts are losing enrollment as well, and let's say it's La Cañada, like we talked about. They chose not to utilize the money and spend it, and therefore basically put their project on ice. The State Allocation Board gets the money back, and now they're looking to reallocate that money. Does that mean we're going to get our $14 million? I don't know. I just thought it's a good signal for us. Whether or not we see the money or not, I can't promise, but I wanted you to know that we have been reauthorized. We are now still on the unfunded list, and now we're only one of 12. This used to be like 18 pages. Now it's 2 pages.
So that means those schools are no longer certified, the ones that.
That's right. They are certifying us as non-funded, which is, again, for me, great. Now, there's some big projects and big project values on there. Whether or not we see half of it, 2 million, I don't know. But we are at least in the pool for consideration. Okay? So I'm really happy about that. I wanted to make sure you guys knew that. If you saw or you get on the state website, we are approved and going from there. So that's all I have on the construction piece. Okay? You bet.
So, for the public and for members of the press here, our 2 local papers, our target is February 27th to have this contract and project overview.
It's actually the 23rd.
The 23rd?
Yeah, that's our next board meeting. Is that correct? February 23rd?
It says the 27th on the calendar.
It does. Yeah, it should be the 23rd.
23rd?
Sorry.
27.
Is it 27?
Yes. 23rd is a Sunday.
You're right.
I'm not available.
I was looking at the wrong one, sorry.
Okay,
It is
so-
the 27th.
February 27th,
Yes.
you're confident that the contract will be coming forward?
Absolutely, yes.
Not sooner, but you're confident it'll come forward on the 27th?
Yeah, along with product boards,
Okay. So,
pictures. Yes.
for our two local papers and members of the audience, for whoever might be interested, pass the word that the 27th is a landmark board meeting for us to approve the contract, which will in essence start construction. And if people want to see the material board, to color schemes and facades and that sort of thing, and they just would like to hear the novelty of what's being approved, because this is Project E, and I'm sure if I polled anybody in the audience, you'd go, Project E is right after D, yeah, and you wouldn't know anything, okay, so we're going to talk about the classrooms that are being built and quad and all that stuff. So for anybody who's interested in seeing that, get that word out, because this is an opportunity to see it. If we were to have a special board meeting, because we were able to get it done sooner, I would still ask that we have a presentation on the 27th.
You know, what I was going to do, either way, I'm going to put out a one call for the entire community and let them know that it is, you know, a monumental event that night.
Because the special meeting would just be the administrative laundry of approving the contract and moving on, and we don't have to have the big road show on the 27th. I mean, on whatever the special board meeting is.
Right.
We can just get the contract approved and get the project moving forward. And then we can come back on the 27th and have the big, open the drapes and
Okay,
see everything. Okay?
absolutely.
All right, finally, we get some decent news. Superintendent comment, 6.5?
Okay, so one of the things I wanted to talk to you about tonight is, if you remember right, is we went through a variety of things. And again, please understand, this is in draft form. These are some numbers that Steve and I took a look at as it relates to, and you had requested that periodically I bring back to you a percentage in terms of expenditures. And so this document kind of outlines, and we've rolled it all up to be certificated salaries and, you know, what's included in that. And what it is amount budgeted, the amount expended, and the particular percent remaining at this point in time. Now keep in mind, this was as of month 7. Our budget starts July 1 and runs through June 30th. So the budget is in essence, we have 5 months remaining. And so you can see percentage-wise where we should be. Now, keep in mind, there is an asterisk, if you will, on the back page. The 3 that are affected, really, basically, the above dated does not reflect potential savings as a result of 5 furlough days that have yet to be determined. So the 3 categories that you have here, certificated salaries, classified salaries, and employee benefits, those budgeted amounts may change, okay? So just keep that in mind. I did not assume any of that, but if you look on the second page, those include all of the cuts and all of the assumptions that we built in and all of the enhancements to the revenue that we have, whether it be through our lease revenues or whatever. So all of those things are included, and those include all of the expected revenue, which is LCFF, the other state, the mandated costs, the lottery, etc. All of those things are included in that document where we're at. So if we go to books and supplies, it's safe to assume that you want to expend a majority of your money at the beginning of the year. You don't want to be buying books in May, in other words. So that percentage for me, again, the big bulk of what's left is transportation, maintenance, things like that, custodial supplies. So that 43% is a good value for us in terms of number where we should be in month 7.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, go ahead, please.
Okay. So these are the percent remaining
Yes.
budget.
Yes.
And calendar-wise, what percent of time?
Well, we're currently in month 8, but this is as of month 7.
Okay,
So we have 5 months remaining.
out of a calendar year that's 9 months?
No, it's 12 because it's July 1st to June 30th. So what this would be is we actually have 4.5 left before the end of our budget year.
So we have, your math says we have 40% of the year to go,
Yes.
and our accounts are 50% of our budget to go. So
Yeah.
we should be
Theoretically.
okay.
Theoretically, we are in line with where we should be. However, I wanted to make sure you guys know that we are putting in cost-cutting and saving measures across every facet that we gave you in that
There's
book.
no meat left on the bone, really.
No, there isn't, but let's say, for example, if you remember in your Friday letter, one of the things that Lucy did was obviously even to the cell phones, we eliminated as many as we possibly could. We cut them in half, we eliminated services. Even though it's $700, or whatever, it is what it is. It's, so we're doing things like that to make sure that we meet our target value.
You're gonna change the trash service?
Exactly, thank you. Copiers to trash service to, you name it, we're looking at everything. Will has been very, frugal, if you will, and he does a lot of the work instead of contracting it out. And so we're trying to do everything we can to make sure that we eliminate all the costs associated. But this is an approximate value. You can see the budgetary amounts. Any questions on that? I've got one more document I'd like to discuss.
And you had said, last board meeting, I believe that we might have a special meeting.
Well, I'm going to talk about that when we get to the next board meeting, or board meeting dates. I'd like to recommend a budget study session. Yes, sir.
All right, I agree. I think we can do that.
Okay. This next document that this is all projections and, we can discuss back and forth. But what this is, and again, I just kind of want to give you a heads up, if you will, as we get into budget study session. These are things that we're looking at. And that's, if you look at, these are projected enrollment for the charter school partnerships, and this is as of February 5th. So what we currently have in the year 13-14, and again, is approximately 1,141 kids. We expect to approximately double that. Now, that's if we did nothing else as of right now. We would expect to double that. And then obviously you can see the next subsequent year, 15, 16, 16, 17. Now these are just assumptions based on what they're projecting in some of the petitions. But I wanted to give you an idea in terms of total numbers of students that will be supervising and that are under our jurisdiction and that do have a potential revenue impact, as well as obviously oversight impact. And we'll be bringing more information to you as we get closer to the budget study session. One of the things that I appreciate Mr. Fox had given me a kind of a revenue calculator, if you will, as it relates to a spreadsheet and all of these. Steve is really taking that and reworking it and massaging it and putting in information in which I'll provide to you and give you a detailed analysis of what the expected revenue is based on expenses and based on how much we get per ADA and LCFF. And there's so many factors that go into this because not all charter schools are made the same. Some receive more money than they, so 3.5% of one is, so it goes all over the place. But keep in mind, when it says enrollment, you're not funded on enrollment, you're funded on ADA. Okay, so one of the things, but this is just enrollment, we're going to give you an idea of where we're at, and we'll give you a better indicator of what ADA values are. And they're similar, they may be 92%, 94%, somewhere around there.
Yeah, and for me, I'm not interested in that level of detail.
Okay.
If these students were going to our school district, I would be.
Okay.
Because we would be receiving the revenue limit ADA value.
Correct.
But we're not.
Okay.
We're only getting the 3%.
3.5.
3.5%. So what I'm interested in is you can have all that material behind the curtain
Okay.
and factor it in. What I'm interested in simply looking at
Bottom line.
is bottom line. To me, whether we had 10,000 kids in the district through our charter school enrollment, or 5,000 kids, it's all novel to me.
Okay.
It's simply a novelty. It's a talking point. Hey, you know, we oversee 10,000 kids worth of education, and everybody goes, get out of my way.
What I'm trying to do is
It's
test
useless.
that too. What information do you want? This is good, thank you.
Speaking for myself,
Okay,
what I want to look at is, because again, enrollment isn't critical to me, is you need to know enrollment because that ADA value impacts the 3.5%.
yeah.
Okay, so you factor that out, okay, you do the math on it, using a baseline projection, and simply come and say, this is the income value for this school, the income value for this school, the income value for this school. Show us what our expenditures are that are associated, and give us a bottom line.
Absolutely.
For each school,
Each-
move to the right,
Yeah.
that is our projected
Total what?
income
Okay.
for 14-15. I guess what I'm saying is, for me, you don't have to prove to me that 2 times 2 is 4, that, you know, it's a $6,000 revenue limit, and then you do the 3.
That's okay, it's good information.
To me, obviously, you guys have to do that work
Yeah,
in order to give us the bottom line.
right.
But all I'm looking for is the chart that shows. Now, if other board members want that kind of detail, that's perfectly okay. But
We'll have that as backup if you want to look
for
at it.
me, and what the public would be interested in is,
I'm along those same lines.
you know, I don't even need to know what the revenue limit value is